Hello, welcome to my living room. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about books. I love to read. I've always loved to read ever since I was little. I wanted to talk about all of my favorite books, so I kind of have them all stacked over here. So I'm going to kind of go in order. I have some notes so I don't miss anything good. In high school, this was my all-time favorite book. I love the story. I love the characters. It's a really easy read. John Green's Paper Towns. It's a super easy read. I actually reread it over the summer. It's just about like high school and like the nostalgia, like end of senior year. The main girl character's name is Margot, and I've always loved that name, mainly because of this book. I will say the ending of this book is a little bit, it's odd. It could have been better, but I mean, again, easy read, good first read. John Green was huge when I was in high school, so that was a good book to start with. I fell off reading when I got into college, but around 2023, I wanted to pick back up reading again, so I thought the best series to get me back into it would be The Hunger Games. Hunger Games was a really big series when I was in middle school. The movies are super good, so I figured I would like the book. I loved all of these. Catching Fire was really good. Of course, Hunger Games is like the basics, sets up the story, gives you the idea of the whole universe that it's in. And then Mockingjay, the last book, super good. I read these in probably like 4 to 5 months. The font is like decently good size, so really good read. After The Hunger Games, I obviously wanted to stay within like the same book to movie kind of vibe, and I've always been a huge Harry Potter fan, and I kind of felt like a fake fan because I had never read the book. So my boyfriend Peyton actually got me almost all of the books for my birthday in 2023. Oh, sorry. There's so many of them. So obviously, Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, really good one. Goblet of Fire, this one was super good. Order of the Phoenix. This one's actually going to be my favorite book that I read. This is The Half-Blood Prince. I like that it goes into the backstory of like Voldemort and his lineage, like where he's from, his family, stuff like that. And I really liked it. It gave a lot more than the movie did. Obviously, the book's going to tell you more, but this one specifically was super good. I loved this one. Deathly Hallows, classic, ends the series, and it's really good. I read all of those books within probably like 10 months. It took me a little bit longer, but now that it's like kind of getting closer to Halloween, I've been tempted to reread some of them just because it's very spooky vibes. So then that year, after I finished Harry Potter, I asked my grandma for book recommendations. That was the only thing I wanted for Christmas was books. And funny enough, she actually got this book because she was on a plane and the lady next to her had finished reading the book, and she had told my grandma, you know, like, my daughter's gonna want to read this, but she's not really at the age where it's probably appropriate for her. Like, would you like to read this book? So my grandma got it from this random lady, and my grandma is in with it. Like, she is tapped into books. Crazy enough, that book was actually Fourth Wing. This was the first like fantasy romance, but it's also like action-packed, dragons, you know? This was the first technically romance I ever read. Oh my gosh, if you've never read any type of like fantasy, this is an amazing one to start with. I want to reread this very soon. So this series is actually insane. I love the characters. I love Violet. She is awesome. Love Violet. Her family is very interesting. Just like the world that this is set in is very cool. Love the aspect of the dragons and everything. And so, of course, after reading the first book, I had to read the second book, Iron Flame. This one is almost as good as the first one, if not better. A lot of people do really like this. I have the version where it's like completely black, but it's fun because my grandma, once she finished reading the second book, she sent me the second book. And then once she finished reading the third book, she sent me the third as well. Onyx Storm. From what I've heard, especially on like social media and like other people, this one's kind of hit or miss. It really depends on how you like the stories. The books are pretty lengthy, so like this one has, okay, it's not too bad. It's like 500 something pages, but Still pretty long, so if you're starting to get into books, these might be a little bit later into your reads. Obviously, once I opened the door to fantasy romance, had to get into the ACOTAR series. So I had bought the first book, Court of Thorns and Roses. I had read it through and I just wasn't really sure how I was feeling about it. But then once I talked to my friend Kaylee, she said, no, like you gotta keep going through the series. Like, trust me, it's gonna be good. So I decided to reread this book. So I read this one twice, and the second time through, I think I had a better idea of like the world they were in and kind of what was going on. And it definitely set me up. The second book was actually my favorite book in the entire series, Mist and Fury. Ugh. Love this one so freaking much. Like, I need to reread only this one and maybe the third one, but this one is super good. Obviously, I love Farah. I love the story between enemies to lovers. I don't want to give away too much of the story just because if you haven't read it, I don't want to be the one to spoil it for you, but highly suggest the ACOTAR series. And then of course there's Wings and Ruin. This is the third book in the series. This one has a lot of like leading up to like a battle, like war kind of sense, which I really enjoyed. I will say, this is probably going to be unpopular. A Court of Frost and Starlight and Silver Flames. They weren't my favorite. It kind of switches up the main character in the last two books. But I will say the last like 20 chapters of this book was amazing. But I'm interested to see if there's going to be a sixth book in this series. I highly suggest the ACOTAR series. I know she has other series, so I might have to read into those. I don't really know about Throne of Glass. That one is like 8 or 9 books, and I think I could get into it, but she also has Crescent City, so I might read that one first just because it's a little bit less of a commitment for all those books. Moving on, when I asked my grandma for book suggestions, she gave me this book as well. It's more of like a nonfiction. It's called My Own Magic by Anna Kloots. It's about a woman who was married to a magician, and she spent most of her life traveling with him for his career. The relationship doesn't go great. They end up breaking up, and she just finds her own magic again. It's pretty good. It has a lot of travel, a lot of like blogging and things, which I love because I have my own blog. So very inspirational. Since this was kind of a nonfiction, it kind of got me thinking about reading other nonfiction. Here are some of them. I don't have all of them. I started with Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is a really good first nonfiction book. I really like that it gives you kind of like a guideline for your life, especially if you're either trying to break habits or make new habits. It really helped me when I was trying to get into working out more, not skipping a day, like listening to your body, really dedicating yourself. So that was a good read. After that book, I read You Are a Badass by Sincero. How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life. This one was really good. Kind of just gives you another, again, like an outline for your life. Not to listen to what other people think. Getting out of your routine is okay sometimes. Finding compassion for people. Letting go and letting people do what they want. And knowing that you are a badass. After that book, I also read, I don't know where it's at right now. I think Kate is reading it currently. The Toxic Parent Survival Guide by Brynn Collins. That book was really good to learn different types of communication methods. It helps you understand a little bit more of like psychology of people. Really good read. The next book I read was, I actually saw this book on Pinterest and I ordered it because I was like, that looks interesting. 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do by Amy Morin. Kick bad mental habits and toughen yourself up. Take back your power, embrace change, face your fears, and train your brain for happiness and success. Every time I pick like a nonfiction book, I really try to make it something where I can learn and grow and use in my day-to-day life. So this was one that was really good. Don't waste time feeling sorry for yourself. Don't give away your power. Don't shy away from change. Don't focus on things you can't control. Don't worry about pleasing everyone. Don't expect immediate results. Don't feel the world owes you anything. Good stuff like that. And then in some of my previous videos, I had The Power of Positive Thinking. That book honestly was amazing. I really enjoyed it a lot, and I have been implementing those positive thinkings like throughout my life since I finished reading that book. I definitely enjoyed it. I loved that it was faith-based, and I think that was a huge part of how much I enjoyed it. And when I do read those nonfictions, I like to take notes because I am a notes person. person. I'm a list person. Literally made a list about all the things I wanted to talk about for this video. If I don't write it down, I won't remember if it's something like super important. Definitely encourage y'all to do that if that's something you're interested in. Another series that I had read, this isn't nonfiction, so going back into the fiction, was the Dune series. I started the first book at the beginning of the summer. I read Dune, Dune Messiah, and now I'm on Children of Dune. This book is really cool. Like this whole series, again, a whole universe, all the different houses, the different families, the royalty, very political, very religious. So I am not quite finished with Children of Dune, but I also wanted to move on to other books that I'm not quite finished with yet. This is going to be one of my non-fiction books that I'm not quite finished with. It's The Danish Way of Parenting by Jessica Joel Alexander and Ivan Dissing Sandal. What the happiest people in the world know about raising confident, capable kids. I am nowhere near having children yet, but when I do have children, you know, I do want to teach them some cool things that maybe I didn't learn. I need to teach myself those things as well from what I've read so far. It encourages like a lot of like free play for children, allowing children to play with kids of all ages and seeing how they interact. The next book is going to be one that I had started in high school. I kind of read through it a little bit. I almost finished it, but I think I had just set it down for so long that I kind of just forgot what it was even about. Helter Skelter, The True Story of the Manson Murders by Vincent Belowski and Kurt Gentry. So this book is actually told through the point of view of the prosecuting lawyers against the Mansons and that whole family. Number one true crime bestseller of all time. So it has a lot of facts and details about the murders and things like that. That was just something interesting I had always wanted to read about. So we'll be picking this up again soon. This is a book that I have been wanting to read. I love the movie. Again, if I love the movie, I have to read the book eventually. So The Shining by Stephen King. I'll pick this up when I'm done reading Dune because again, it is almost Halloween, so this would be a great read for the spooky time. These are all the books that I'm going to be reading next. I found this at my mom's. Draw the Circle, the 40-Day Prayer Challenge by Mark Batterson. So this will be interesting. It's a 40-day devotional. I've always wanted to get a book that has something to do with devotional, so really excited to start that. Along with that kind of book, she also had these. Jesus Calling Bible Study Series, Trusting in Christ by Sarah Young. Listening for the Voice of God, Growing in Faith Every Day by Marilyn Mebrig. This book also came from my mom. She sent it to me. It's Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Negotiating as if your life depended on it. A former FBI top hostage negotiator, field-tested tools for talking anyone into or out of just about anything. So I accidentally bought the second book in the series before the first book. I didn't know it was the second book. I had started reading it and I was like, I think I'm missing something here. So this is called The Night Country by Melissa Albert. I love this cover. I think that's really what drew me to it. It was like very like Alice in Wonderland. I need to get the first book and then I will read the second book. Back to my Hunger Games series. I got The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Loved the movie, of course, so gotta read the book. I do want to especially read this because of how the movie ended. I really am curious about like how that all was portrayed in the book. With that, I also have The Sunrise on the Reaping. This is the newest book in the series. I think it came out at the beginning of the summer. These books I got as a kid and I never ended up reading them. It's the first 6 books of the Nancy Drew series. I feel like this would be a really like nostalgic, super easy read. 100 to 200 pages. So I could probably read one of these in a day. If there's any books that you would suggest for me to read, please leave them in the comments. I wouldn't say I'm a huge reader. I don't have a huge library of books, but this is what I have. If y'all did like this video, go ahead and like it and leave me a comment what your favorite book is that you like to read. Thank y'all so much for watching. I had so much fun making this video. Yeah, thanks guys. See you next Tuesday.